While it's so nice to have the extra daylight at the end of the day, it came at a price of suffering through another spring-forward daylight saving event. If you had a hard time recovering after losing an hour's sleep, you're not alone. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine says more than 55% of Americans experience sleep loss after a time change. Here with tips on what we can do for a better night's sleep during this last week of Sleep Awareness Month is Dr. Daniel Baughn. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Janelle. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
Yes.
Sleep is so important.
It is.
We hear it all the time, and we just came off of this, daylight savings time.
Yeah.
People might still be struggling.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely. And this is the one that's a little harder. It's the spring ahead where we go into daylight savings time. That can be challenging for most people.
So we were talking earlier, and you're going to give us a lot of tips today.
Yes.
But you said there's one that's kind of a must.
Absolutely. I would say the single most important thing that anyone can do, especially after we're going through a time change, is, especially for people that have sleep difficulties, is to really anchor your wake-up time. And what I mean by that is pick a consistent wake-up time where you're going to get up, get out of bed, and keep that pretty consistently, regardless of whether you had a good night's worth of rest or a bad night's worth of rest. Regardless, keep that time, and as long as you're still having those sleep difficulties.
Yeah, because is there really such thing as catching up on sleep? Like people say, I'm going to sleep in on the weekend because I had to get up so early for work.
No,
it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
So it's better to get up, even if you...
It sure is. When you sleep in the morning, you actually are taking rest that you're going to get the night in front of you. So it's a little kind of counterintuitive. Most people are like, oh my God, I had a rough night of rest. Let me sleep in a little bit. You actually just want to go ahead and get up, start your day. You can actually push through that day fairly well. And then when you get to the end of that night, that's when you're going to be sleepy.
Okay, so let's talk about, because you brought some items for us when you wake up in the middle of the night and you just can't go back to sleep.
Absolutely.
I've been told different things. One is just, stay in bed. Eventually, you'll go back to sleep, but you have a different take.
Yeah, I would say so. Once you wake up in the middle of the night and you know that you haven't been able to fall back asleep, so I would say give yourself about 10, 15 minutes if you know you're staring at the ceiling or counting sheep and it's not working. I would say I want you to get up, get out of bed, leave your bedroom, and go out to a common area in your home, and I want you to keep lighting low. Try not to look at devices or things with screens, and then I want you to go ahead and pull out your basket of sleep activities, so things that you're going to do when you are tired but not sleepy.
Okay, so should we define tired but not sleepy first before we get to the basket? Okay.
Absolutely. So this one's really important. So tiredness for most people is when you are just physically exhausted, or you just might not have much motivation to stay awake. Sleepiness is when you're truly struggling, like you got to put toothpicks in your eyes to kind of keep them awake. If you are feeling that level of sleepiness, then I would want you to go back to bed and try and resume sleep. But a lot of people tend to go to bed because they're maybe bored, or they feel like they're done with the day, or they just feel like it's their time to go to sleep. I would say try not to do that. You want to make sure you actually are sleepy before going back to bed in the bedroom.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about what you have in the basket. So I see a coloring book.
Yes. So I would say, what this is, and anyone can pick up a basket from anywhere, and you just want to put inside your basket activities that you can do that are going to help you to really regain that sense of sleepiness in the middle of the night. So coloring is a really common one that for a lot of my clients. So and I'm a big fan of sensory things. So the color pencils that I have here have some essential oils in them. So as you color with them, you'll start to get some smells and scents.
Nice.
So coloring is one of them. Putting together a Lego set can be another one. I would say the key thing to remember about this basket is, number one, it's activities that are only available to you in the middle of the night. And then number two, you want them to be things that in general are not too activating or don't really turn you on that much. So you see in front of us, we have a candle there. In fact, I'm a huge fan of, if you can keep the lighting low and do these things by candlelight or by low lighting, that's excellent. You could do, a mini kind of puzzle that we have right here, a jigsaw puzzle. Another common one that I have over here is a worry journal. And again, you can find all these things, online, on Amazon, on other places. This worry journal is a good one where if you just have thoughts that will just not leave your mind, just open up the journal. It's got some questions that'll ask you about those thoughts, and just go to town. Just start writing it. And, it's kind of interesting. People are like, oh my gosh, if I start talking about my worry, is that actually going to make me more alert and more awake? And I would say what you're actually trying to do is take the worrisome thinking out of your mind and put it onto paper so that you can then relax and go back to rest. So,
okay. I love this idea of this basket. That's a great one. So let's talk about nutrition, because I think nutrition can play a role in sleep. So what is your advice there?
Yeah, so my advice when it comes to foods, I'm a huge fan of just as an all natural and as whole food, whole plant that we can get you to go, that would be the best. And so I would say, generally speaking, when we're talking about food as it relates to rest, is that we don't want a lot of calories. What we do really want are taste kind of experiences that also do have natural kind of sources of good things. So a good example, hummus and some crackers. There's some natural tryptophan in that. Another good example of this would be yogurt with some tart cherries in it. Again, another kind of triggering some melatonin production. Also some salmon jerky that can have some omega-3s. These things have all been linked to just helping you to get better rest.
And are you supposed to eat these when you, like in the middle of the night, when you can't go to sleep? Yes.
So I would say in the middle of the night, if you are hungry, what we do know is if you're hungry, hunger will interrupt with your natural ability to go back to rest. So I would say just consume enough to kind of take away that hunger edge. I would encourage you not to eat a whole meal in the middle of the night or get a lot of calories in.
Got it. And then you also have some other, activities that we talked about, like even like folding laundry or something like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Folding laundry, organizing your junk drawer. It can be really anything anything that's not super activating for you.
Okay, great. And we also want to mention that you have a podcast, but I'm going to tell people how they can listen to that podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
Right,
lots of great free tips.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And you can get in touch with Dr. Baughn by heading to his website, danielbaughn.com/sleep, and check out his podcast. There's great information there. You can find it at sleeptakeout.buzzsprout.com.